Let's see how to graph this polynomial. So, as you can see, like we have a polynomial that is in factored form. If you have a polynomial in standard form, you cannot graph it readily without a graphing calculator or going to Desmos.com. But in factored form, we can actually approximate this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to find zeros, which you should have learned from the last video. And finding its zeros here is pretty easy. This one would be 7. This one would be -1. And this one would be 3 twice. So we found its zeros. And now we can graph its zeros, which is where it crosses the x-axis. So it crossed at 7, it crossed at 3, and it crossed at -1. Now here becomes the question. And the question is, does the graph kind of go up to this point, or does it go down? Does it go like above here to here, or does it go below? Does it go above here, or does it go below? And then at the end, does it go down, or does it go up? So that we have quite a few questions on how this graph goes in between. But most of the questions are whether this thing would be on the positive side or the negative side of the graph. And here's how we figure that out. We're going to take this thing in factored form and figure out if this thing, when we take some of these numbers, are positive or negative. So let's take numbers that are smaller than -1. So the number that I'm going to choose is -3. So let's do this. I plug in -3 here. Well, -3 minus -3 is -6. And -6 squared is positive 36, so this is a positive number. When I plug -3 into here, so this is what we're doing. We're plugging in -3 into everything and seeing whether it's positive or negative. Well, -3 minus 1 is a -2. And then when I do this, a -3 minus 7 is a -10. Now we're going to figure out, once we've multiplied, because that's the sign in between these things, what kind of answer we get. Well, a positive times a negative is negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So we now know this graph started on the positive side and went down. So we started on the positive side and we went down. Now we have to see and hear, is this side negative or below, or is this side positive? So we're going to do the same kind of thing. This time we're going to try to plug in a different number. This time let's plug in a number that's between that portion of the graph, between here and here. And the number that we are going to pick will be 0, or that middle point there. So let's plug 0 into here, here, and here, and see what signs we get. Well, 0 minus 3 is -3. -3 squared is 9. Anytime you have something squared, it always comes out to be positive. So that's kind of a nice trick. 0 plus 1, well, that'd be 1, so that'd be positive. But 0 minus 7 is -7. So since we have a negative thing here, well, positive times a positive is positive, but a positive times a negative is negative. So this time it's negative, so it actually goes down here, and then it's going to have to loop back up to get back to here. Now we're going to see if here, does it go above the graph, or does it go below the graph? So, again, we're going to pick a number in between here and here. Let's pick 5. So this time, again, I'm going to go through and erase the numbers I don't need anymore. And I don't know if it does that, so let me get rid of that. Okay, plugging in 5. When I plug in 5 to here, I would get a positive number because anything squared becomes positive. 5 plus 1, 6. That's definitely positive. 5 minus 7. Oh, that would still be a negative, and we have the same kind of combo we had last time. So it hits here, but then it loops back down because it stays negative. Now let's see what it does here. So it could bounce and go down, or it could sit and go through. So again, we need to plug in a number, and the number has to be bigger than that number there, which would be 7. So let's choose a number like, oh, I don't know, let's choose a number, let's say 10. So we're going to plug 10 into each space. Well, that one's going to be positive, because anything squared is positive. This one, definitely positive. 10 plus 1 is 11. 10 minus 11, or 7, that would be 3. That would be positive. Well, positive times a positive times a positive is positive. So this thing would continue on, since it would be positive. Okay, so this is kind of how our graph looks. It's a rough sketch. I don't really know how far down these two things go, but I know it kind of dips like that. And these things will keep going up forever. So try this on the thing to see if you can figure out whether the intervals should be positive, negative, or in between, and then try to do some kind of rough sketch of the graph.